It's a strange paradox because I was about to get on here and say life gets so much easier when we drop the story. And that's true. But to tell this story, I have to get on here and tell a story to then explain how dropping the story makes your life more free. And it's strange. We're so hardwired as human beings to live in and need stories. It's so interesting to watch because the more you give up your story, I don't like the word ego. It has a lot attached to it. I just use the word story because it's kind of the same thing, to me anyway. The more you don't live in and buy into and really invest in story, it's like the more you're able to see how everyone, including yourself, does live in and buy into stories. And life gets so much more free and light and easy when you don't have a story attached to it. But sometimes I find myself almost craving a story. Although I know it's a false and it's not going to give me anything. I think it's just hardwired in humans. I don't know why. We're just good storytellers. It's what we do. It's how we connect. It's how we make meaning. It's how we live. But no other animals or plant life does that. It really does set us apart and also make us a little mad at the same time. A little crazy. Disruptive, destructive. Not that it's an easy process, disrupting your own story, but wow. The freedom that comes with that is 100 times worth it. I don't know what made me think of this morning, but maybe because Easter's coming up. I used to be a Christian, so I celebrated Easter, but then as a Christian, I wondered where all these weird things came from, the egg and the Easter rabbit. I was like, what does this have to do with Jesus? So I looked it up. I started studying, and wow, that's a deep rabbit hole. That may be one of the first things that really disrupted the story I was told about Easter is not at all the truth and where it came from and the history and the evolution of it and the gods and goddesses that are represented that have nothing to do with the Bible. Yeah, eventually every story you tell yourself does end up being a lie if you really look into it deep enough. I think studying external stories like the one of Easter and Christmas, and then I got into religious studies and realized that all these are just stories that we're telling ourselves. None of them hold up. It's easier to do with external stories that don't really affect you that much. But now when it comes to your own story, like my personality, my trauma, my history, my childhood, those are harder to give up, but the harder ones to give up bring the most freedom. They really, really feel like you, but they're not you. The story is never you. You are the one witnessing, watching, aware of the story being created. You are not the story. I don't like all these buzzwords like ego and awareness because they're so overused, but it does seem like you take a step back and you're just aware of all these stories that you created once you start dismantling them. And when you can kind of detach a little bit and analyze and let go of the stories, it's like more of who you truly are starts to show up. It's really nice. It does take a lot of work at first up front, it seems like, at least for me it did, but then it after a while it gets easier and easier, and it's like you starts happening naturally in every moment. It's like training to fight. You're going to get beat up a lot until you get good at, until you get used to it, until you learn how to dodge and bob and weave and block and fight back. Like at first you just get thrown around and it's rough and it hurts and you wonder, what are you doing? Is this even worth it? And then you start getting good at it and it gets fun and interesting and like, oh, how can I dodge this punch? How can I, like, there's so many things I can do now and I have all these new skills. It's kind of what it's like dropping your story. At first it feels just ouch. But then after a while it just becomes this fun, interesting process and you realize all these things that hurt so early on is because I was so attached and I believed so strongly that that was me. But then, and you feel like you are dying if you're giving up this story. Part of you won't be there. Like, who am I going to be without my story? And weirdly, our human nature wants to always keep the negative stories, the victim stories, the trauma stories. Like, what? Why do we need those? We don't need those. Trust me, as someone who has given those up, we don't need them. It's like a badge of honor to be hurt, to be a victim. I don't know why we do that. We don't need badges. We don't need honor. We don't need stories. Life can be lived without adding meaning to every little thing to make ourselves feel more comfortable. And I'm speaking from experience. I guess that's what I wanted to share today. You don't need the story. At first it is hard to give up. It gets easier and easier, and as it gets easier, you see more and more, and it gets more obvious and more clear and more joyful and more peaceful. And then you wonder why you ever had a story to begin with. And you just keep going down this road, and then it's like the road just takes you. And you get used to just being, not thinking, not creating, not concocting stories before you even experience something. You just are present. You have experiences, and then you move from one experience to the next. But if you don't add a story to your previous experience, it's not going to cloud all of your next experiences. So you're free in every moment. Instead of having an experience, adding meaning and story to it, and then the next experience after that, it's like you just keep connecting the dots and the story gets bigger and larger and bigger and larger and morphs and changes. And then you stop experiencing life and reality. You start experiencing your story. You have a story, you got to stick to it, you got to add to it. You are a certain way, you have certain beliefs. Like, that is how you experience life, through your story. Or you give that up and you just experience life in every moment. It can morph, it can change. You can be treated well, you can be treated bad. You're not adding meaning to these things, so it doesn't really affect you. You're just kind of watching the experiences as they unfold. It's great. It's peaceful. It's really fun. So I'm going to keep sharing about it.